All right, all right, all right, all right. Shabbat Shalom. Most High in Christ bless you from United Kingdom of Israel congregation. Coming to you live from Newport News, or Bad News as they call it, Virginia. All right. As usual, I pray that the Most High has blessed and has kept you all throughout the week, throughout your endeavors, throughout your struggles. I pray that the Most High has led and guided you in the ways of righteousness. I know that he definitely had the resources there. Now, whether you took heed to it, completely up to you. All right. How you doing today, officer?
I'm doing very well. All right, doing very well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm a little excited, you know.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm excited because we get ready to go into piece of dedication here. You know, soon, within a week, I'll say, or so, give or take. But again, I'm truly blessed, man. I'm just grateful that I'm here. I give all praise to the Most High. Nevertheless, I know everybody, no one wants out to hear the chitter chatter, but we have to give all praise to the Most High first and foremost. All right. Before I even introduce the class and before we get started, as usual, we're going to start off in the book of Ecclesiastes 51.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 51 and verse 23. Draw near unto me, ye unlearned, and dwell in the house of learning.
So take the opportunity, you know what I'm saying, get settled in, get your paper, get your pen, tag somebody in. All right? Because over the course of maybe the next hour and a half or so to two, I'm going to definitely take you what I'm going to call this evening as a Back to the Future ride regarding the Sabbath. Here's why. Because the Sabbath is just that important. See, understand that the Sabbath is a sign between, give me that Exodus. Understand that the Most High said that the Sabbath is a sign between him and his people, his children. Okay? So, let's see here. What you got? Understand that the Most High, see, from the beginning, the Most High laid this thing out perfectly, right? The Most High set it up to where you work by day in, day out, whether that's in the daytime or whether that's in the night, and then he gives you the opportunity to rest and recharge. Okay? This is what he allots you. This is what he provides you. He gives you that opportunity. It behooves all of us to take that opportunity and to put it to good use. Okay? It's up to us all to put that to good use. So, let's open up a Salaki. Go to Psalms 119 first.
Psalms, chapter 119, verse 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
So we're going to get some understanding today about the Sabbath. Okay. Some understanding today about the Shabbat. Okay. Because it's very, very, very important when you observe it. Think how hard we went when it came down to the Christians. We were like, yo, y'all keeping the Sabbath on the wrong day. So when brothers say that the Sabbath is only partial or half of a day, you have to say, bro, you're still not keeping that day holy. You're keeping half a day righteous. Okay? But let's see what he says, verse 12. Ezekiel chapter 20.
Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 12. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them.
To be a sign between him and us. This is why we have these things. They're covenants. They're agreements. You know you're a part of the thing. It's like saying, hey, how do I know that's your car? Where's your title? Right. Where's the deed to that property? Okay? So it's very, very, very important. And one of the things that I want to point out is that when a day begins, it's confusing to say that a day begins in morning except for this day. Or except that day. Not Passover, not leavened bread, not Day of Atonement. Those days start at evening. But then right after those end, I guess that evening, then that next morning kicks off another day. So you lose time, I guess, with their doctrine. If you think about it within that capacity. All right? If I start my fast tonight and it ends tomorrow night, right? I don't even get a 12-hour interval because what just happened is I just jumped into another day, or a 24-hour, select. I just jumped into a whole other day within 12-hour time frame. You see what I'm saying? So, which is key. I like that point, though. Everybody remember that point. Everybody remember that point. I'm going to prove something to y'all with that same point at the end of the class. Watch this. So, but it's hard to imagine that the Most High would even have so much confusion surrounding the day that he placed so much importance on. He just said it was a sign between him and his people. This is one of the most important commandments. And the knowledge of how to keep it and when to keep it is very important. It's hard to even fathom that the Most High would allow a day like that is so important to have so much confusion surrounding it. That don't make sense. Watch this. Go to 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 7 and verse 21. 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha. Okay.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 7 and verse 21. Mm-hmm. For God had given straight commandment.
Wait, God did what?
Given straight commandment.
Now wait a minute, because everybody may not know what that means. So, so does Yahriach. Go ahead and drop the link right now in the comments. Okay, I'm coming to you now from the 1611 authorized version.com. All right, dictionary for the 1611, which we're using. Because it said the Most High gave us straight commandment, right?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
To such as came, what they should do to live.
So he gave us straight commandments on what we should do to live. Okay. Straight, rigorous. Okay. Not crooked. Not hard to understand. Straight up, straight down. This is what it is. Don't do this, do this. Eat this, don't eat that. Somebody's going to get slick when it came. We said, no. Don't even touch the carcass. He gave straight commanded of what we should and what we should not do. Okay? Read it again.
For God hath given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment.
He said, don't do that right there. Because if you do this, you're going to be punished. It's the same thing like a father would tell the children. When I tell my children, you tell your children, you tell your children. It's what anybody would tell their child. Hey, do this, you're going to be all right. I'll reward that good behavior. But if you do this after I said don't do that, you're in trouble. So don't do that. Same thing, right? He tells us what we should do to live and what we should avoid or do to avoid punishment.
Right.
Okay? From there, let's go to Genesis chapter 15. We're going to the beginning. Because Genesis 1, you would think that would be the easiest because the Most High established the end from the beginning. You get right there. It tells you flat out, evening, morning, boom, there it is. That's the order in which it came. I don't know how that becomes it. How does that become a topic of debate? I don't know why. Okay. We're going to Genesis chapter 15. I want to start with verse number 17.
Genesis chapter 15 and verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass that when the sun went down.
We all know what that means, right? When the sun went down, right?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
And it was dark.
That was clear, right? Come on.
Behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces.
Go ahead.
In the same day.
Wait a minute. Here we have, yet again, we see the sun went down, it got dark, and the next words they come with is, in that day, that same day right there, it was dark. Because y'all say that when it says day, it's talking about daylight. Again, when you go into the Hebrew and you understand the verbiage, when you understand Hebrew vernacular, when you understand how the sentences are structured, when you understand that a word can have multiple meanings, and a day can mean the daylight portion, it can mean the 24-hour period, it can vary. That's why when it's used in conjunction with a numerical value, it means a 24-hour period, as in seventh day. Okay? There's rules to the Hebrew language. Okay? Plain and simple. Subject, verb, object. That's how it follows. So, now we're looking at this right here, and it tells you when the sun went down and it was dark, in the same day, read on.
The Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates.
This clearly shows that from when the sun went down, it was dark, followed by the words in the same day. It illustrates that the time when it was dark was considered part of that 24-hour day. It was considered a part of the day, period. Okay? But it wasn't until the sun went down that they then said, boom, here we is, it's a day. Why? It's a new day. This is when the day starts, and this is what I'm going to prove today in this class. Last time we put it on trial, this time we just going to, drop the bombs on it. Right. I used the military terminology the other day. I had to kind of clean it up. I'm like, damn, I don't want to get a knock at my door. It was one of those, I don't want to say it wrong, because my daughters get me if I do. GIF, I don't know, that GIF thing. Okay, whatever you call it, all right, they looking at me crazy right now, but whatever you call that thing right there, I put one, and it was like a battle screen with shooting going on. It was like radars, and it was talking about fire for effect. I'm like, let me go and reword what I'm actually saying on here. Right. I went and talked about precepts and scriptures. This is what we're shooting at them. But once you first launch your first strike in any military campaign, that's what it is, man, spiritual warfare, right? When Swordsman Code tells us, hit the point first, then elaborate, okay? In a military campaign, you shoot your shot. You intend to hit your target, but I'm not gonna say that you might be off, but you might not do as much damage as you intended. So, you may have to adjust fire. Then you adjust fire. You let another one off. That's when the second video comes in. That one hits. You say, we on a target now. Fire for effect. And here we are today. We're going to fire for a fact. Go to the book of Luke chapter 22. What I'm getting ready to show you is 3 verses that describe one and the same event occurring during the night hours. I'm just going to tell you straight up. Okay. This is with the Mashiach, the Messiah, and his disciples. This is Christ and his disciples. They ate the Passover. Okay. Let's see what happens. Luke chapter 22, verse 34.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 34.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day.
When?
This day.
Now wait a minute. Remember, they're sitting down to eat the Passover, which we know happens at evening. Nighttime.
Right.
This day. Go ahead.
Before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me.
Okay. He said this is this day, right? My question is, did he deny him that night, or was it that day, as in the daylight? Because at nighttime, he told him, you're going to deny me this day. We're going to find out, though. All right? Not just yet. Go to Matthew chapter 26. I want to see, because this is the guy I call my Messiah. I got to see what he's talking about here.
Maybe the sun came up for a split second and went back down.
It can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
A peekaboo sunrise.
Matthew 26 and verse 34.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 34.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee that this night.
Wait a minute. In Luke, he said, this day.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say again?
This night.
Oh, wait a minute. See? Brothers like to play word games. Oh, she rock right here because it said it's the day. So this means that. So what is the Messiah talking about here? Is he confused? Or does the day begin at night? You gotta realize this is right when that night, the night just kicked off. It's the Passover. They sitting down to eat. This day, this night, read on.
Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice.
You shall deny me 3 times is what he told him. Okay. I'm going to give you one more instance. We're going to go to Mark 14 and 30. Because we see an instance where he said this day. Then we see an account where he said this night. Now let's see what we read Mark chapter 14. Hang on one second. Okay.
Mark chapter 14 and verse 30.
Come on.
And Jesus saith unto him, Verily I say unto thee that this day, even in this night.
So I'm not gonna give no commentary on these what I just read. Not really. I want brothers to explain this to me. I want them to explain why he said this day, why he said this night in Matthew, and why in Mark he said this day, even this night. Go ahead.
That this day, even in this night, before the cock crow twice, thou shalt deny me thrice.
Now, when it comes down to what is considered and constituted as a day, one would have to logically conclude that this is this surface level. One would have to logically conclude that the Messiah considered night to be included as part of the day. Right? Watch this. Go to Acts 27. I'm going to show you also another instance to show that day began at evening. And night was followed by the day in the 24-hour sequence. And what this is also going to show, because you got to realize what they were doing. The Romans had a lot of different things going on, right? But you got to realize something. One of the things that what they had going on then is what they have going on now. When does the day start?
According to us or them?
No, them.
Oh, at midnight?
At midnight. So, even though they were under Roman occupation, this one, what we're ready to read, is going to show you that the Israelites still understood when the day started, despite what the heathens had going on. Right. Acts chapter 27, starting verse 27.
Acts chapter 27 and verse 27.
Come on.
But when the 14th night was come.
The 14th what?
Night was come.
Okay.
As we were driven up and down in Adria about midnight, the shipmen deemed that they drew near to some country, and sounded and found it 20 fathoms. And when they had gone a little further, they sounded again and found it 50 fathoms. Then, fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern and wished for the day.
Wait. We understand this is why they dropped anchor, because they didn't want to crash into the rocks, right? You out there in the dark waters, pitch dark, right? Going spots, going a little bit further, find it's go a little bit further. So you know what? Let's drop anchor right here.
Right.
And they did what?
Then fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern and wished for the day.
Watch this.
And as the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea. Because
we see here in verse 27, it was night, right? We see in verse 29, they wished for the day. So day in the context of light hadn't happened yet. Watch this, read.
Under color, as though they would have cast anchors out for the foreship.
Read.
Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, except these abide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat and let her fall off. And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, this day is the 14th day that ye have tarried.
That day started that night. We just read it. We just read that day in verse 27 started that night. Read that verse again where you at.
Verse 33 of
Acts
27.
Come on.
And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, this day is the 14th day that ye have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing.
So look, man, this is getting ready to be, that time. Y'all, come on, man. Get y'all this up. Get some nourishment. Okay? You didn't wait this whole time. You didn't fast it. This day is the 14th day that you have tarried, you didn't waited, and continued fasted, and haven't taken nothing. But clearly, we can see. Now, somebody will say, oh, no. But that's the same order that we read in Genesis 1 and 5. That's the same exact order. We just read that in Acts 27 chapter, the same exact order. Okay? Now, Genesis 1 and 5, when we look at that, and it says that the evening and the morning were the first day. When you look at it, that rendering, what it should say, or should simply say, is day 1, or day the first. It would sound backwards to us in our English minds, but that's what it actually should say. Right. Okay. The word evening, Arab, or come from the same word for Arab. See, they ain't bring that out. When you say Arab Tov, right? Good evening.
Right.
That word comes from Adam. Adam meaning to mix or to mingle. Right? Everybody only know that when they talking about nations. Nobody bring that out or have yet to bring that out yet that I've seen. If they have, I stand corrected. All right? In mourning, Boker or Bakar is to search or examine. See, y'all just search, oh, it means day, it means light. What about the deeper meaning of those words that y'all trying to toss around? Okay? Because when you look at those words in that context, they convey the opposites of what you would consider to be day and night. Edeb, right, denoting the mingling or the mixing, the mingling of light from twilight, and Boker or Bakar denoting the clear light of day, being the time when it is possible to distinguish the exact quality of which characteristics of said time frame. Okay? It's a transitionary period. So when people try to use it and say, oh, this specifically means day, that's you can't say that. Okay? When we look at let's look at something real quick. Okay? When you look at the term used, because you look at the word Yom, like in Yom Kippur, right? That means day, right? When you look at your mom, like your mama almost, right? It gives it more or less, your mom, it gives it more or less, it means daily or daylight. And that's what we see in, go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 66 real quick. The Most High gives straight commandments. So when he gives us certain things, he say, okay, it's not to figure out, oh, does this mean a little piece of light? Does it mean a whole light? It don't work like that. There's words for these things. 28 and verse 66.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night.
So, even though it's that word day, the word there is not yom. It's a variation of the word that makes that then mean daily or every day. You okay? The same thing that we see in Joshua 1 and 8 when they talk about meditating in his word day and night. That means daily. That same word is utilized there in Joshua 1 and 8 to mean daily. When they say day and night, does that mean meditating the word only when the sun up? You see what I'm saying? You have to understand Hebrew vernacular. You have to actually go into and actually start to understand the Hebrew language. Elders that tell you that the Hebrew don't matter. I had a brother tell me, well, we're on the post one day, and it's not a shot at him. Okay? I asked the brother, did he deal with the Hebrew? He said, somewhat in part, but not to understand the scriptures. I told him that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Am I making it a doctrine that you have to learn Hebrew? No. When I'm telling you that if you seek to have a deeper understanding of what's really being conveyed, you might want to begin with the language in which it was written. Right. Okay. That, and number two, I personally don't trust the translators. You can say, well, the Most High put the Spirit on. Okay, yeah, the Most High put the Spirit on people to bring out a lot of information. But that, I mean, is all meat. Right. There's bones in it. I'll be the first to tell you that there's errors that I personally have found in the King James Version. So let's not even, even go down that road. So when I started to see that and knowing how in such high regard is held and knowing how close it is to the text, I say I have to learn it. I have to start to study it. Okay. Another example, if we'll give, go to 1 Samuel 30 and 17 real quick. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 17. I'm just throwing out different points with dealing with different variations of the word day and how they mean different things from daily, daylight, the next day, things like that. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 17.
1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 17. Mm-hmm. And David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day.
Until the evening of the next day.
And there,
Makorath, or the morrow. Okay. That is the word that's used to say next day. Y'all want it to be like a word to say something yom or something, you know what I'm saying, told. You know, that's what people be looking for. And so when you see certain words, you'll misuse it and say that it only means this portion. It said day. But when day was used in one of these terms, it means daily. When day was used in this context, it means during the day. And I understand that some brothers did go into the language in their classes. No doubt about it. But for edification purposes, I'm going to touch on this. Okay. Now, when we're dealing with, where we at? We in Samuel, go to 2 Samuel chapter 13. 2 Samuel chapter 13, verse 4. Because when used literally, like as in from morning to morning is used to mean from day to day, and this is where the confusion comes in. Watch this, 2 Samuel 13 and 4.
2 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto him, Why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day?
Lean from day to day. Mm-hmm.
Wilt thou not tell me? And Ammon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister.
Now hang on 1 second. And we in 2 Samuel, right? 2 Samuel 13 and verse 4. Right? Watch this. When we look at that word boker, like boker tov, that's in good day, right? The word boker in that context, see, read it again.
This is 2 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto him, Why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Ammon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister.
So when we see boker or bakar, what you see here is what actually causes confusion for a lot of people. Because in all these different instances which I gave you different variations of Hebrew words. But in English, what do we keep reading? Day, 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 day. Right. But if you go based on what some of these brothers' doctrine is, you would think that's only daylight portion. Or you would think that it's not a 24-hour period or something to that effect. Or you know, you won't consider the fact that that day started that quote-unquote night or when it was dark. Okay? Go to Luke. Because what we saw was in Acts chapter 27, right? Paul had the same understanding that Nehemiah had when it came down to when the day kicked off, in the order of when it went, which is the same understanding that we've seen that Moses had. But now today, somebody has a different understanding. Okay. Hang on for a second. Drop that. Go to 2 Kings. Because I want to go exactly to where nobody likes to answer. I pose this question every single day. I even asked brothers to explain it to me. I told brothers, you tell me, what does the scripture mean to you? We're going to go to 2 Kings chapter 7. I like that one. 2 Kings chapter 7, we're going to start with verse number 5.
2 Kings chapter 7 and verse 5. And they rose up in the twilight.
They rose up in the twilight, come on,
to go unto the camp of the Syrians.
We're talking about the 4 lepers. Come on.
And when they were come to the uttermost part of this camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there.
Nighttime, man. It's empty, right? There's nobody there. Nobody, walking around. All right, no doubt. Come on.
For the Lord.
Wait. So they got there, right? they walking around what appears to be an abandoned camp. Right? I experienced it before. It's like when I was in Panama. They said, okay, intel. Enemy got a spot over here, a couple of shacks up here in the mountains, in the jungle. Get there, there's nothing there. You may see a fire or something burning. Okay, they were here. Right. So they get there to this camp. Twilight, right? Come on.
Verse 6. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses. When, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us.
Because they know that's who had them chariots and horse-drawn, chariots. They're like, yo, the Most High must have had these dudes to come against us. They hearing things, right? So read on.
Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight.
So they got up and fled in the twilight. Okay? This is why when the lepers got there, it appeared not to be not a man around. The Most High put a spirit on them to cause them to bounce. Twilight. Come on.
And left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life.
They left everything behind. Okay? Everything. No bug out bag. They say, let's go, right? Before it even, listen when it's happened. Before it even got dark, they bounced. Go ahead.
Verse 8. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent and did eat and drink.
Yo, they got there, it was empty. They went in there and said, yo, there's some unleavened bread over here. I guess I help myself.
Hey, let's dig in.
Pour up a little bit of that Yahriach over there, let's okay.
Right.
Ain't nobody here.
Don't let it go to waste.
Read on.
And carried thence silver and gold.
All the silver and gold that go left behind that tent, they said, we're going to take this with us. Come on.
And raiment, and went.
That's a nice garment. Let me get that too. Come on. Fur coats and stuff.
Right.
Come on.
And came again and entered into another tent.
And then went to another tent. So think about this. They showed up, went to walk around. Damn, ain't nobody here, y'all. Let's go to this tent right here. They go in. Nobody's here. Let's eat and drink. Take this stuff. Carried it out of there. Then came back after they stashed it and did what?
And went and hid it.
They went to another tent, grabbed the stuff, went, hid it. Come on.
Verse 9. Then they said one to another.
Now I want to say this because what happened in verse 8 clearly had to take some time.
Yeah.
You walked around the camp, you ate, drank, you grabbed up everything you could, carried it out, went to another spot. That took a little bit of time, right?
Right.
Okay. Verse 9.
Then they said one to another.
Watch what they say. But remember this.
We do not well. This day is a day of good tidings.
I can't even say what time of day was this. When did this happen? It was at nighttime. They showed up at twilight. You feel what I'm saying? At twilight time is when they showed up. Okay? They rose up in, this is verse 5, they rose up in the twilight to go to the camp of the Syrians. The Syrians bounced before then. As they ate, they grabbing all their stuff, taking stuff in and out here and there, right? All that's taking time. It's not twilight no more. It's nighttime.
Oh, yeah.
It got to be dark outside. It was twilight. It was turning dark.
Right.
It was right before it's, right?
Right.
And they said, what?
We do not well. This day is a day of good tidings.
What do they call that night?
This day is a day of good tidings.
What do they call the period when we would say that a new day begins?
This day is a day of good tidings. And we hold our peace if we tarry till the morning light. Some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household.
Okay, now therefore come that we may go and tell the king's household, right? So, clearly it says that we would hold our peace if we tarry till the morning light.
So they just having a good old time of running through the camp.
But think about what this is saying.
Right.
This is nighttime. The sun haven't came up yet.
Right.
That's when these brothers claim that a day begins. But clearly at night, they was waiting on the morning light. It hadn't came yet. They showed up before it even was dark, before they even pillaged the city.
Right.
And before the sun came up, they said, this day is a day. That lets you know that a day begins before the sun comes up. Yet again.
That's right.
Yet again. Okay. They understood that they was waiting on the coming light. Okay. So let's see what happened. Drop down to verse 12.
Verse 12. And the king arose in the night.
That lets you know that the sun hadn't came up yet. And that lets you know that it was still night. But they called it a day.
Right.
Why did they call day, night, night, day? Why did they say that? Was they confused? Is this a wrong biblical account? No, I think you brothers that believe that the day begins when the sun come up is confused. Read that verse on the top.
And the king arose in the night and said unto his servants, I will now shew you what the Syrians have done to us.
Mm-hmm.
They know that we be hungry, therefore are they gone out of the camp to hide themselves in a field, saying, when they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. So
clearly, all these events before twilight, all this leading up to it, once they got there, ran around the city to all this, it got nighttime, the king rose up at night to show what they had did. Let you know what had happened. So when the king found out that they got hit, the sun still hadn't came up yet. Okay. And although he said this night, they had already referred to it and said this day is a day. It was a double up on that one. There wasn't no confusion on what it was. Okay. This is what it is. This day. They called that night a day.
Even in verse 9 when it says, if we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us.
Okay. Watch this. Now, I'm kind of conflicted here. I said I wouldn't introduce heathen. I'm not. I'm going to stick to it. I will not. So I'm going to skip that. I'm not going to introduce. I was getting ready to go into the Zondervan and go into a writing called Manners and Customs of the Bible, but I'm not. I don't want to use no heathen sources. There's something that exists, right? We all heard the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's something that exists that's called the Damascus document, also known as the Cairo document. It was discovered in ancient synagogue in Cairo approximately 50 years before they discovered it in the caves of Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. So we have two accounts. We have an account of the very same thing being found in Cairo, in the Cairo document, and in what they call the Damascus document. Okay. It deals with the community at large at Qumran. They have a couple different things. Okay. They were known to be, they were called the Essenes, and they were known to have strict adherence to the law. Sometimes even too strict that some looked at. But they were also known to practice ritualistic washing and cleansing or baptism. It's rumored, that's another story, that John the Baptist came out of them dudes. You know what I'm saying? They was real primitive, same like him. And just based on certain different things, I'm not going to get into. That's another class. But in the Damascus document, they have somebody that's called Moreh Hazadek, right? Or the teacher of righteousness, right? Or a righteous teacher. Okay. And according to what they number all of them. So they number them either by the cave they found it in, or what document it is. So like the Cairo document, right? So CD, the letter C, the letter C, the letter D, the number 10, as in chapter 10, and we're going to call it verse 14 through 17. shows that the Qumran, the people at Qumran actually followed exactly what people are now calling Jewish practices, meaning Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, right?
That's right.
And the Damascus document actually proves that. In fact, they were so strict. If you get a chance to look at the Damascus document or the Cairo document, what you'll see is they were so strict that they actually started their Sabbath before the sun went down. Why? That way, by the time the sun went down, you had no excuse.
That's right.
So once a week, I think it said, I don't want to say if it was 30 or if it was 3. Somebody gonna say, oh, the Masonic stuff going on here. When the sun reached a certain point in the sky, okay, that's when they said, okay, boom. Not preparation, not, oh snap, you heard me cook that up before the sun goes. No, they said Sabbath now. Why? Because when it's down, should nobody be, oh, well, I was still I had to finish up doing this, and that was, no. They had strict adherence. These are some of the oldest records that we have to go and read, document-wise.
Right.
And this is why I said, history and archaeology. I'm going to only introduce and deal with Israelites on this matter. Okay? Skip all that. Let's go to Leviticus real quick. Go to Leviticus 22. I can skip like a whole. I know. It's so much. But okay. I mean, some of the things that we already covered, like dealing with Joseph of Arimathea. You know what I'm saying? And why he said, "Let me get the body down right now." We've already touched on that. You know what I'm saying? That next day kick off when the sun go down, and the body should not remain. We already know that comes out of the law. We're not even going to go back through that thing. We already know that according to Leviticus 23 and 32, it says, you shall observe your Sabbaths from evening to evening. We're not going to go over that. We're not going to beat a dead horse in that regard. But a lot of times I just make certain points to keep me abreast of certain things in my mind. We're going to hit Leviticus. Before that, I do want to see something real quick. Go to Joshua 8:29. Real quick before we hit Leviticus. Joshua chapter 8, verse 29. I want to see something.
Joshua chapter 8 and 29. And the king of And the king of he hanged on a tree until eventide.
Until eventide, meaning until evening was coming in. All right, it wasn't evening yet. It's like that, that tide is rolling in. Okay, he was there until eventide. Go ahead.
And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stones that remaineth unto this day.
So it's all the same thing. They had the same understanding. I just want to hit that, because, like I said, we talked about what it said in the law. We showed what happened with the Christ and Joseph of Arimathea. But we're showing you even throughout Israelite history that is how our people operated. Okay, that was that instance. Real quick, we just doing touch and go. Hit 2 Chronicles 18 and 34. Touch and go. We're coming back to Leviticus. 2 Chronicles 18, verse 34.
Second Chronicles chapter 18 and verse 34.
We pointed these things out and we made reference to them because they were significant. Watch this.
And the battle increased that day.
Wait, the battle increased when?
That day.
Go ahead.
Howbeit, the king of Israel stayed himself up in his chariot against the Syrians until the even. And about the time of the sun going down, he died.
It's a new day. It's a new day. This is how we see. Oh man, that's surmising. You're saying that you okay? Hey, whatever. All right. Go back now. Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus 22. Whatever. All I do is teach the truth. You can take it or leave it. That's how we do things around here. Leviticus 22, starting verse 6.
Leviticus.
I always wanted to hear their response and how they finagle this whole thing with the clean and unclean and things like that.
Leviticus chapter 22 and verse 6.
Go ahead.
The soul which hath touched any such shall be unclean until evening. And
why is that though? I mean, because if a day don't start until when the sun come up, why am I unclean till evening? So I'm half a day, I'm still filthy? Or whatever you call that part, I don't know if they even call it a day or what. So that remaining portion, the rest of that, it's all right, you get a pass on that, or I'm not sure how that go. Go ahead.
And shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh with water. And when the sun is down,
and when
the sun is down, he shall be clean, and shall afterwards eat of the holy things, because it is his food.
Why is that? It's a new day. You was unclean yesterday. Okay. Now, sun that went down, boop, new day. It's a new day. Otherwise, your doctrine makes no sense in that regard. Okay. That soul was touched anything that was unclean will be unclean until even, and when the sun is down, he shall be clean. Okay. The Bible didn't say that a person shall be unclean until midnight. The Bible didn't say that a person to be unclean until sunrise.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right, conjunction hours.
It didn't say that.
That's right.
Okay? The Bible days change at the setting of the sun. Not at midnight and not at sun up. It's 12 midnight. Oh man, it's a new day. No, it's not. That always sounded dumb to me. My whole life, I never. It was the spirit within me that always said something's wrong with this.
Right. This is what they teach us in school.
I'm gonna tell you what something else is wrong. The confusion that they teach our children, right? You ask any one of these children, you say, how many seasons is there in 1 year?
Right.
How many seasons is there in a year? 4. The young sister just said 4, right? You got winter, spring, summer, and fall, right? If your year start in the middle of winter in January, you're telling me that your year has 2 winters.
Oh, snap.
You got winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. That's confusion.
That's right.
This is how you know that the year don't begin in January, because January is the dead of winter.
That's right.
So my year starts in winter, then it turns spring, then it turns summer, then it turns fall, then it turns back to winter.
We got 5 seasons. That's why bro man go from the 5th floor.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why. Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cuz. All right.
That's right. That's exactly why.
Oh. See, we learned it. I'm dwelling the house to learn it. See?
Draw near. You gotta learn. I'm trying to tell you. We're trying to figure this thing out. All right. Now, for example, Because you have to be, so you telling me, so what about this, right? Go to Deuteronomy 23. Because anyone touching an unclean thing will be considered unclean until evening, when the sun had set, which started a new day. Then he'd be considered clean again. Okay? To prepare for the time of cleaning, one had to wash and clean himself, had to wash and clean. All this while the sun was still up. You had to do that. You had to start that washing process while the sun was still up, so that evening you could be already in your clean state. Deuteronomy 23, verse 11.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
But it shall be, when even cometh on, he shall wash himself with water. And when the sun is down.
So when even cometh on, so that's that even tide. See, different verbs mean the same thing. It's not night yet, it's not dark yet. Okay, but as it's approaching, he shall wash himself. Okay, see, these are things that people got to start pushing in these camps. It ain't all about banging on Esau. It ain't all about flat earth, round earth. All those different things are all distractions, man.
I like that point, though.
Yeah. God. But the matter is that our people are so focused on that, though. I bang on Esau, too. Okay? But when that's your whole focal, you off. What we should be pushing is how to correctly keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay? Our people are now in a state of confusion in the original how or when the Sabbath is, and they don't even know how to keep the Sabbath correctly.
Right.
But no matter what time you keep it at. You was keeping it wrong on Sunday, they're keeping it wrong on Saturday, from evening to evening, they keep it wrong from morning to morning wrong. We need to be teaching them these intricate ins and outs, details that they need to know in order to do this thing the way the Most High wants it done.
That's right.
Because that's what it's all about. It's not how you feel about it, how you feel about it, how I feel about it, who likes it, who don't like it. We're trying to please him. That's why you study to show yourself approved unto him.
That's right.
Right in the back. Not for you, not for YouTube, not for Facebook.
That's right.
Right? So it's clear. You know what I'm saying? When we pay attention to see what we see, go to Judges 19. When we see what we see, and he's over and over at the mouth of 2 or 3. This is why the word says to the law and to the testimony. Okay? To the law and to the testimony. So the law says something, and then there's a testimony. This is where you can go to these witnesses, to these different brothers, these different writers, okay, these different prophets, these different authors. You can go to these different men of the Most High and go and get the testimony, so they can say, this is what verifies this is what backs this up. Plain and simple, right? If a new day began at sunrise, it would be perfectly acceptable for the unclean man to return to the camp at dawn. Right? But according to the law, he had to already get the wash on before the sun even went down. But a new day hasn't started yet. So why can't I at least wait until right before dusk? As it began to dawn to a new day. Why can I then get washed up since the day started in the morning? Why couldn't right before the sun come up? I said, you know what? Cock-a-doodle-doo. I'm up, bones. Roosted and crowed. Let me go ahead, wash up. The sun getting ready to come up. It's a new day. Why didn't the Bible say that? But at evening, this is what is to happen. Okay. Judges 19 and 9.
Judges chapter 19 and verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold now, the day draweth toward evening.
Mm-hmm.
I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end.
That's the cut.
Oh, wow.
It just told you at evening, this day gonna end. Read it again.
And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, Behold, Now the day draweth toward even.
This day that we in right now is getting ready to be evening time. We almost at evening time. Because we say evening to evening is how days is counted. They tell them right here in Judges, say, hey, this day draws towards evening. It's about to be evening. Come on.
I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end.
The day groweth to an end. Clearly teach you that the day ends at the setting sun. Okay. We see the same thing in the New Testament also, by the way. Go to Luke 24 and verse 29. Luke chapter 24 and verse 29. See, I'm just firing for effect at this point. I'm just.
Luke chapter 24 and verse 29. But they constrained him, saying, abide with us.
Wait right here with us.
For it is toward even.
Because it's almost evening.
And the day is far spent.
This day over. It's about to be a new day. Evening about to hit. Look, man, this day over. Just chill. Somebody gonna say, well, they saying that it's nighttime now, so just wait, because the new day starts tomorrow morning. No, stop it. See, you know what that becomes? When you begin to add to the word.
That's right.
That's what happens then. You start adding and taking away at that point. Okay. It's very clear. All right. When we look at Genesis, the first chapter, right? So now I'm going to give y'all a couple of different flip sides. Because now you have to be able to tell me which time is which. Because when we look at Genesis, the first chapter, we see that evening, morning. You see, it was darkness, there was light, right? Night came before the day. And there are approximately 28 times in the Bible that speaks of the 24-hour day in the reverse order. See, brothers want you to believe that Genesis is telling you that you got morning, evening, then by the time morning come around, now it's a new day. But that's a reverse order than what's written.
That's right.
The Most High wasn't confused. He wrote it exactly how he meant it. If he wanted it the other way around, he would have said it like he did. Genesis 8:22. We're going to show you something. We're going to show you a couple times in the evening or dark light, and we're going to show you some light dark. So watch this. Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. Genesis 8, verse 22.
Genesis chapter 8 and verse 22.
Here we go.
While the earth remaineth seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter.
Talking about how everything goes through its cycles. Right?
And day and night.
And what?
And day and night.
So why couldn't he have said that in Genesis 1? It's clear he knows how to formulate it so that the words say day and night. Why would he have to say evening and morning? He knows how he meant it.
Right.
Y'all trying to treat the Most High like he a special case. Let me tell you what he meant. No, I'm going to tell you what that is. That's called private interpretation, what you got going on.
That's right.
That's what that is. You know, I know it said evening in the morning, but what he meant was, no, when he want to say it morning and evening, he'll say it. Read it again.
While the earth remaineth seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
And day and night shall not cease. So you know how to put it in whatever, how you want to word it. Let's get one more like that. Leviticus chapter 8. Leviticus chapter 8. Verse 35. The Most High, if he wants to say day and night, he know how to say that. He's not retarded. Come on.
Leviticus chapter 8 and verse 35. Therefore shall ye abide at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, day and night.
When?
Day and night.
See?
7 days. And keep the charge.
Wait a minute. How do you do that Yeah, this is going back to if there's only daylight hours, this is what a day is.
Right.
You're gonna find day and night for 7 days. That's confusion. Is the night a part of the day or is it not? But again, he knows how to word it by saying day and night. Let's get a flip side example in a reverse order, like a Genesis chapter 1 type of example. Go to 1 Samuel 25. 1 Samuel 25 and verse 16. So we just seen 2 examples where he said day and night. And if that's what he meant in Genesis 1, he would have said that. Because he knows obviously how to say it.
Right.
Just like this. 1 Samuel, that's where we at, 25 and 16.
1 Samuel chapter 25 and verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
They were a wall unto us both by night and day.
So, he know how to say it in the order that he mean it. He said that when
They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep.
So clearly, and that also is a cut to show that brothers did do work at night. So the brothers like, they ain't have no lights. Brother tried to hit me with there was no electricity back then to show why they didn't do no work at night. Are you crazy?
They didn't have lamps and
So they didn't have lamps. If you look it up, they have different versions of them. First, what do you think the purpose of this is?
To keep light.
right.
It's for light.
Light.
7 branch candlestick. But they would use oil in those days.
Right. They didn't have
If your lights go out right now, you mean tell me you ain't finna light that room up? Stop it, man. See, brothers get it get real petty. One more on that, and then I'm gonna go in. Acts chapter 20, verse 31. Just so we can show that, he says day and night, he says night and day. Then I'm gonna get into some of this scholarship. And that's what I'm gonna close out with that. Give y'all some of this testimony.
So if that's the case, when was fire invented?
What was it used for?
Don't you stop.
They'll put us back in the Stone Age, Jock. We cavemen in some circles.
Bro, Samuel is long after Leviticus speaking about the high holy days and first fruits and Passover and
Right.
open fire.
Fire wasn't invented until after the Mashiach.
Fire was invented in 1948. All right, Acts chapter 20, verse 31.
Acts chapter 20 and verse 31. Therefore, watch and remember that by the space of 3 years I cease not to warn every one night and day with tears.
So, clearly, if the Most High wanted to be day and night, he would have said day and night. If he wants to say night and day, he says night and day. So, who gives you the authority to reverse how he said it when he said it? That's the problem. Okay? Now, let's jump into this real quick. I'm going back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Right? Quick breakdown, history of Dead Sea Scrolls. Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 11 caves along the northwest shore of the Dead Sea between the years of 1947 and 1956. The area is 13 miles east of Jerusalem. The mostly fragmented texts are numbered, like I mentioned earlier, according to the cave that they were found in, and in the order in which they came out. 19 copies of the book of Isaiah, 25 copies of Deuteronomy, and 30 copies of Psalms. Okay. As I noted before, the book of Isaiah, the Isaiah scroll, is the keynote piece because it's almost 100% still intact, as opposed to the other scrolls in other books. They say the scrolls are most likely written by the Essenes, excuse me, between 200 BC, or before Christ, to 68 CE or 68 AD, after Christ. Okay, and right before the complete siege of Jerusalem in 70 A.D. Okay, the scholars discovered that the writings, the Hebrew manuscript copies of lined up with what they call the Textus Receptus, which is what was used to translate the King James version of the Bible in 1611. And they see that the Textus Receptus, along with those Hebrew texts that they found in Qumran in the Dead Sea, were virtually identical to the ancient, they found they were virtually identical to the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls. And aside from a couple of spelling variations, not a single word was altered from the original scrolls. So it was a difference in spelling in certain regards. Okay. But what came out of cave number 4, and this is Dead Sea Scroll 4Q317, says on the 8th of the month, the moon rules all the day in the midst of the sky. And when the sun sets, its light ceases to be obscured. And thus the moon begins to be revealed on the first day of the week. Clearly, this shows you that a day transition based on sunset to sunset. And it just told you that when that moon comes up, that just started this day of the week. Okay, that first day. Not at sunrise. Okay. Grab that Josephus over there for me. So, that's one. That source was between 200 BC to 68 CE. We went Dead Sea Scrolls. Josephus lived after Christ, somewhere, what was the year on it?
Between 65 AD to the...
He lived there, 60-something.
Yeah.
He was there during the siege
Yeah.
on Jerusalem. So he was around during the 70 AD time frame.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, read what you got. Yeah, the same, yeah, yep. The last was erected.
The book of the works of Josephus, book 4, chapter 9, and I am on.
And this is
the wars of the Jews, book 4, chapter 9, page 691, and it reads, where one of the priests stood, of course, and gave a signal beforehand with a trumpet.
So he said there was a tower where the priest stood, where they would blow their trumpet. Come on.
At the beginning of every 7th day.
Now pull this, right? You know, the brother told me, he said, you just proved. He told me I cut myself with this. He just proved that the day wasn't 24 hours. No, this does prove that. And it proves that the day goes from evening to evening. Watch what it says. They blew a trumpet when?
At the beginning of every 7th day.
The 7th day of the Sabbath.
Right.
So, at the beginning of the Sabbath, they blew a trumpet. When?
In the evening.
Twilight. Woo! You cut. This is a first century source. Israelite. Already with BC. I'm AD now. I'm going to go century by century. Because my question that I asked these brothers was, if the morning to morning was what the Most High set up, where's the historical proof that we said, to hell with that, we're going to start doing evening to evening? Where's the proof of the transition? The same time you can see when people say, you know what? No longer a 7th day, but the first day of the week. We're going to observe Sunday as the day. We see that throughout history.
That's right.
We see where there was a back and forth over whether it was a lunar Sabbath or, and that was more recent, might I add, not historically, versus the normal 7-day weekly Sabbath. But there's nowhere in history you're going to find that we was doing morning to morning.
Right.
So I'm going to take you to show what the Israelite historians had to say.
Correct.
The writers, the scribes, the prophets. We went through the Bible because, brothers, somebody, you grab that Isaiah 34 real quick. I got to make that point while I'm dealing with these books. Because it's probably dancing around in their spirits right now.
Come on. Book of Isaiah,
Read up.
chapter 34, verse 16.
The book of Isaiah 34 and 16. Come on.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
So it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. Come on.
No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate.
None shall want her mate. First of all, you read up the verse above, it'll tell you about who shall not want their mate. If you read the previous verse. Fact. However, I'm still keeping how they're keeping it. All I want to say is this. Brothers that made that statement better not ever pick up a Babylon and Timbuktu.
Right.
You better not pick up a Valley of the Dry Bone.
That's right.
You better not pick up a Zondervan Bible Dictionary.
That's right.
You better not pick up a book outside of the Bible, because I'm going to be there to rebuke you and to call you all types of hypocrites. I'm going to put you on blast. I'm not going to reveal who you are until I see you pull a book. When I see you pull a book, I'm going in.
Life agrees.
Don't turn to nothing. I don't care what it is. Matter of fact, every book you own in your house, you can send to me. So you don't be out of order. I will pay the shipping and handling just to get it. Okay? I don't want you to be out of order, because none shall want her mate according to you, so don't use no other book. That sounds stupid. That's dumb. Okay, how about this? Prove to me Deuteronomy 28 and 68 without a source.
Ooh. Chapter music.
See how stupid the statement, none shall want her mate, huh? Well, then you keep it biblical and you show me this right here without going to a short. Don't show me no maps. Don't show me the slave trade route. None of those things. That sounds stupid and asinine. Now, read where you at. Back in Josephus.
It says, the works of Josephus, the wars of the Jews.
Go ahead.
Book 4, chapter 9, and I am on page 691. Where one of the priests stood, of course, and gave a signal beforehand with a trumpet at the beginning of every seventh day in the evening.
So clearly, according to Josephus, the seventh day, the Sabbath day, began at evening. And the priests knew it too, because they blew the trumpet. Read.
In the evening twilight, as also at the evening when the day was finished.
And also at evening when the day was finished. Brother gonna say that ain't 24 hours. From evening to evening?
So what is it?
The problem is our people, we don't even read for understanding. We read just to have a response.
That's right.
I gotta have a comeback. No, brother. This clearly shows evening to evening, and that's a 24-hour period, fam.
I'm trying to get no understanding. They just want to battle.
That's it. Some people, as the scripture say, preach Christ for contentions.
Right.
Period. Give me Proverbs 7 and 9 real quick before I go to my next source. Proverbs chapter 7 verse 9 real quick. And then after this we're going into the works of Philo, who lived in both BC, prior to Christ, during Christ, and after Christ in Alexandria, Egypt, where the Jews were.
Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 9. In the twilight, in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night.
Woo! So clearly, they blew the trumpet when the sun went down. This just told you what this twilight portion was. It just told you what this evening and the darkness and the blackness and what is this. This how it go. See, I was saving the best for last. I ain't finished yet though. Go to the book of Philo. That Josephus, if you want to write that one down, it's going to be like, you can write down like Wars of Josephus, then the 4, probably do like a little 2-dot thing, colon, and then a 9, like 4, like chapter 4, verse 9, and then in parentheses, write 582. 582. And now we're going to Philo, the contemplative life. Where is 764? The way it's broken down here is a little tricky, kind of. Here we go. So, start from here where it says, but they are despised. So this is Philo. Let's see what Philo says. Show them the front of that book. I'm sure everybody got it. If you don't have Josephus and Philo, go out and get it, man. We're dealing with Israelite sources today. Only Israelite scholarship tonight.
The works of Philo.
All right. And this is the contemplative life.
On the contemplative life.
And if you want to jot this down, what we're going to be reading from, I would write down 704. Like, well, it's on page 704. But write down like a Roman numeral 7. We're going to be going through, all the way through Roman numeral 8. But they have them in parentheses. We're going to be dealing with 60, roughly, maybe what's that, 63? Yeah, so 63. Through maybe 83. All right, go ahead, read what you got.
You said 83?
Yeah, possibly. Go ahead.
Read down to 83.
Well, I'll tell you which portion.
Okay. All right. But they are despised by the disciples of Moses.
It says the followers of Moses, those that keep the law, right? Come on.
But they are despised by the disciples of Moses, who in the abundance of their wisdom have learnt from their earliest infancy to love truth.
They love the truth. Come on.
And also continue to the end of their lives, impossible to be deceived.
You can't trick these guys, all right? You can't deceive them.
But since the entertainments of the greatest celebrity are full of such trifling and folly, bearing conviction in themselves, if anyone should think fit not to regard vague opinion and character, which has been commonly handed down concerning them as feasts, which have gone off with the most eminent success.
You can't trick these guys, okay? And it's not a vague opinion when it comes down to them regarding feasts and things like that. This is how serious it is. This source. Go ahead.
I will oppose to them the entertainments of those persons who have devoted their whole life and themselves to the knowledge and contemplation of the affairs of nature in accordance with the most sacred admonitions.
They devote their whole life to this thing. They live the truth. You're not going to pull the wool over their eyes. You're not going to trick these dudes. Nothing. Watch this.
And precepts of the prophet Moses. In the first place, these men assembled at the end of 7 weeks.
So now we're dealing with this assembly time, right? They at the end, they tell you at the end of 7 week time frame, this is when they assemble. Watch this.
Venerating not only the simple week of 7 days, but also its multiplied power. For they know it to be pure and always virgin. And it is a prelude and kind of forefeast of the greatest feast, which is assigned to the number 50.
So what feast would that be?
Pentecost.
Go ahead.
The most holy and natural of numbers, being compounded of the power of the right-angled triangle, which is the principle of the origination and condition of the whole.
That's deep. That's a little too deep for some of y'all. We ain't gonna get off into that. Go ahead.
Therefore, when they come together, clothed in white garments, and joyful with the most exceeding gravity.
Drop down to verse 80. Drop down to section 81.
All right. In section 81. And when each individual has finished his psalm, when the young men bring in the table which is which was mentioned a little while ago, on which was placed that most holy food, the leavened bread with a seasoning of salt, with which hyssop is mingled, out of reverence for the sacred table.
I want y'all to know that this festival begins at the end of 7 weeks. Watch this, come on.
Which lies thus in the holy outer temple.
I'm reading all this so we're not cherry picking nothing. We straight through, come on.
For on this table are placed loaves and salt without seasoning, and the bread is unleavened, and the salt unmixed with anything else.
83.
All right, section 83. And after the feast, they celebrate the sacred festival during the whole night.
Wait a minute. So, the end of the 7 weeks and this feast kicks off at night. They said they celebrated what?
The sacred festival during the whole night.
Go ahead.
And this nocturnal festival
means what?
Nighttime.
Go ahead.
Nocturnal festival is celebrated in the following manner.
So, here it is. We see that this festival begins at the end of the 7 weeks, which was at night or at evening when the day ends. Clearly, it shows that the Jews observed and knew when new days began. Remember last class I told y'all that even when I think we went to Judith, and I showed y'all that even in their personal festivals, they started them in the evening. Even personal feasts. Okay? We almost finished. Watch this. Go to, I don't want to hit that. Wait a minute. I'm not going to hit that because that's not the Israelite source. Okay. Give me Benjamin of Tudela. Itinerary of Benjamin of Tudela. Dealing with him, we're dealing with 12th century. We're talking to 1100 AD. I brought this out before, but since we're going through the timeline, I definitely want to bring it out again. Definitely read this right here on page 25 for me. Yes.
This is the itinerary of Benjamin of Tudela, and we are on page 25, and it reads, There are also some heretical Jews called Epicursin, whom the Israelites have excommunicated in all places. They profane the eve of the Sabbath and observe the first night of the week.
They observe what?
The first night of the week, which is the termination of the Sabbath.
So that lets you know that a day, yet again, starts and ends when that sun go down. The name of that book is The Itinerary Epicursin. Spell it out for him.
Epicursin. Epicursin.
And the name of the book is The Itinerary of Benjamin of Tudela. Again, he was a Israelite. He was a traveler. He did a lot of travels, Africa, Asia, Asia Minor, Europe, places like that. We talking 100 years before Marco Polo did it. So again, that's a primary source right there. And on his travels, he ran into contact with some Israelites that everybody excommunicated because they was keeping the Sabbath bogus. And they was observing the first night, which is the termination of the Sabbath. Like this evening, they'll say, okay, now it's a Sabbath. But according to everybody, including that brother, that was the end of the Sabbath, which started the first day of the week. Like tonight, it's dark outside, it's now the first day of the week. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And that's what was going on. Even then, we talking 12th century. Okay, let's go. I should have went in order by the centuries. My bad. This book is a must-have right here. It has also the itinerary of Benjamin of Tudela in here. It's called Jewish Travelers in the Middle Ages. 19 first-hand accounts. Some primary sources. Okay? And it says, this fascinating but vividly portrays the wandering Jew as a very real character in a great drama of history. In 19 engaging narratives, some 12 centuries old, traveling Jewish scholars, merchants, pilgrims, ambassadors, and others are revealed to be men of many moods and missions. And in these pages, you will meet, and it goes on to the different people that you meet throughout the different centuries in which they operated. This book initially came out in composed of all these different accounts. Looking at somewhere, I have to find that on that page. But let's get back to let me get back to the milk of this whole thing. So, the first one I want to bring out is a guy from the 9th century. Okay. Very, very, very interesting. Oh, by the way, inside of Benjamin Tudela, it tells you that the Jews are black also. But what's interesting about this brother here, Eldad the Danite is his name, or Eldad Hadani. Ha in Hebrew meaning the, like Ha-Mashiach, the Messiah. Hadani meaning the Danite, which is interesting. Because here's a brother claiming a brother, and they said he was a very, if you look him up, they describe him as being a very dark brother. And he said he was from the tribe of Dan. Okay? But Eldad the Danite, we talking somewhere, we're talking in the 800s, 800 some odd AD. Let's see, because he's talking about a river. He's writing this number, but he's talking about a river. And we're going to see what he had to say about it. No, it's that.
So we're the Jewish travelers in the Middle Ages, 19 first-hand accounts, and we are on page 18. The river flows all the 6 weekdays with stones and dust, without a drop of water, but it rests on the Sabbath day. And at the time when it gets evening.
At what time?
Evening.
Now this is the brother in the 9th century, 800 some odd AD. He's writing this to Spain. And he says on Sabbath, when? When it gets what?
Evening at dusk.
At when?
At dusk.
Go ahead.
A cloud descends upon it, and no man can touch it till the end of the Sabbath.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And its name is Sambashan, and we call it Sabbatinus. And there are places in that river which are only 60 cubits wide.
Okay. So that's the 9th century. Clear. Let you know when the Sabbath is. In the evening, right? Okay. Let's see what else we got here. We already talked about Benjamin Tudela in the 11th. Hang on, bear with me. Maybe page 177. 15th century, okay. Here we are, 1481, 15th century. All right. This guy is Meshulam ben Menahem. Let's see what he had to say.
All right. We're on page 177 now. As we could not stop and spend the Sabbath in the desert, if we went with the caravan, we left them on the Thursday.
This is their journals. This is these travelers' first-hand accounts. Go ahead.
And stayed at Castacia until the Sabbath, but closed on 24 o'clock of the Friday.
It closed at 24 o'clock on when?
The Friday.
The Friday. Go ahead.
A caravan of Turks all armed with bows, arrived, and were delayed overnight.
And they were delayed when?
Overnight.
So it clearly lets you know the Sabbath starts at evening. They showed up. Y'all delayed overnight now. The Sabbath has started. And this caravan of Turks, shut it down right now. This is why brothers say, none shall want their mate, because they know that history kills their damn doctrine.
Yeah.
You don't want to, the name of the book is called First-Hand Accounts. You're not going to get around this. Okay? Friday, shut down shop. Y'all showed up anyway? All right. No doubt. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, who else we got here? Not Elijah Ferrara, that was the 1400s. Let's go to the 14th century though. This is Isaac Cello. Let's see what he had to say. Read this right here, that whole thing.
All right, now page 150. Every Friday evening.
This is the part I've been waiting on. Go ahead.
Every Friday evening, lights are lit on these tombs by the Jews and the Muslims.
So now he's telling you what's going on, right? Right? He said, yo, every Friday they light these candles. They light these on the tombs, right? And they do this. And who does it?
Muslims.
Right. So basically, again, because if you have realized everything that Islam got, they copied off of it.
That's right.
Right? So, and it's going to tell you that right here too. So we lit this, they lit it. Watch this, read.
Now it happened one Friday evening.
One Friday evening.
That the number of lights was so great, their flames set on fire one of these trees.
So they had to lit so many that a tree caught on fire. Friday evening. When the Sabbath starts. Not Saturday morning. Watch this.
The pomegranate overhanging the tomb of Rabbi Eleazar, son of Yahriach.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone refused to extinguish the flames.
Yo, who's going to put the fire out? Not me. Not me. Go ahead.
The Jews, in order not to profane the Sabbath.
This is at nighttime. I thought the Sabbath didn't start till the morning.
That's right.
They didn't even want to put the fire out. And this is in the 14th century, the 1300s. They like, yo, we are not going to profane the Sabbath, bro. You burn up. Read.
The Ishmaelites in imitation.
The Ishmaelites in imitation
of the Jews, the tree burnt. Therefore, the whole.
Because Ishmael was like, we ain't doing nothing either.
That's right.
Why? Why not? Not you or the stranger within your gate supposed to do no work.
That's right.
Read.
The tree burnt. Therefore, the whole night.
The whole wind?
The whole night.
Uh-huh.
Through. And on the morrow.
And when?
On the morrow.
And when the sun came up, or what you would call the next day, quote unquote. I'm using that figuratively. Watch.
When they came to visit the sacred tomb, it was seen with astonishment that neither the trunk nor the branches of this tree had received any hurt.
Let me ask you this question. Because the Sabbath clearly started that night.
Right.
Right? And on the morrow, we still ain't doing nothing. Because it's still the Sabbath. The sun that came up, it's the Sabbath. Everybody coming out looking like, yo, what? Shabbat shalom, huh? The whole joint burnt down. Shabbat shalom, huh?
Right.
That's, that's all I got for you at this current juncture, right? Watch this. I ain't finished.
Right.
Yeah, they burnt the cemetery up. All right, watch this. We're going all the way to the end of this thing. I don't even know where I want to start on this. Let me see. Okay, start down here where it says on Friday. Read. And this is Azulai, and this is during the 18th century, during the 1700s.
All right, so we're on page 360.
Go ahead.
On Friday, I went to collect some of the offerings written down.
So you can't blame none of this on the fake Jews, say, 1948. This is hundreds of years before them. Read.
On Friday, I went to collect some of the offerings written down below for the Yeshiva, Knesset Israel of Hebron.
Read.
On the Sabbath, the day itself.
Wait, on the Sabbath, I like that verbiage. On the Sabbath, when?
The day itself.
That's the word they like. The day itself, read.
And the evening of the day before.
Woo! That just tells you right there. Read on.
I was at the house of M. David Nequet, where I was received with much honor. M. Abraham and M. Venture shared our meals. May God reward them. On Sunday, we departed in peace from Paris.
Hold on today now. We out. On Sunday, we bounced. We departed. We're out of here. But he goes on with his travels, right? And he shows you the different things that goes on from evening to evening. He tells you about from morning to morning. He goes from every day by day by day by day. On Friday, I felt worn out and done up with the tribulations of our journey. Right. You know, on Wednesday, we did this. Check this out. Another came from him on the eve of Friday. The first was affectionate and respectful to the last degree. We had emerged from the habits of travel with damage of migration. So he tells you, like, travel is over now. It's winding down. It's Friday. Watch this. The Sabbath we have spent with M. David Nequet and Abraham and dined with us and his worthy spouse. So he's telling you what we did, where we went, told him you're not going to go here, you're not going to do that because it's the Sabbath. Telling you exactly, this is at nighttime, this is what we did. Thursday, we went here. It said when Sabbath was out, after the evening prayer, Abraham Leon returned with me from the synagogue. When the Sabbath was out after the evening prayer. Wow. Okay. He's a young man. He blah, blah, blah. He does all these different type of things. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All these accounts back and forth. Just keep on going on and on. In the evening, he did this. In the evening, he did that. No doubt. All praises, right? On the eve of the Sabbath. On this. Oh, wait a minute. This says, on Friday, I was very much put out. I wanted to start on Sunday morning. And Hananel had already paid several visits to the diligence with the gold to the lions and had arranged a price for the clothes. He told me the thing would not be settled till Friday, but he did not steer himself in time.
Uh-oh.
He went on Friday after 4 p.m.
Uh-oh.
And then told me there were no more places. Now, I had everything tied up and prepared for taking away on Friday in order to spend the night of Friday to Saturday in the diligence. I had written letters to the effect to my dear son Raphael, and I was much distressed. On the eve of the Sabbath, we already said that was Friday, right? I dined with the affectionate Nequet. Like I said, they had a little dinner. He said I had spent the whole night of Thursday to Friday and copied the notes. On the Sabbath morning, so it lets you know that the Sabbath had that evening point in time, you had the Sabbath morning point in time, and all these things is how it always ends. And it's always an evening to evening throughout history, first-hand counts from the Israelites. Last scripture before we close out. Okay. Last scripture. Okay, last scripture. Joshua chapter 10. And I want to say this, man. I love my brothers and sisters. I pray that we all get it right, again, because it's signed between the Most High and His people. But history, archaeology, and the scriptures all prove that a day begins in the evening and that the Sabbath begins in the evening. And I'm stressing that because you're not giving the Most High His full. Now, if I have to come back with another installment, then I'm going to have to ask y'all, what does it mean to enter into your rest? Because that's the whole purpose of that evening prior to. After the works and everything. So you got to look into the scientifics behind rest and sleep. Okay, for sake of time, I'm not going to get into it this evening. But I might do a small little video and just shoot it out there, okay? You have to get into the understanding behind that. So in order for you to fully worship, serve, pray, and be in spirit with the Most High, you have to put yourself on a charger. You have to recharge, okay? You have to enter into that rest. It's like putting a computer on quote-unquote sleep mode, okay? When in entering into that rest, you only can get certain things that replenishes cells, blood, and other things through a quote-unquote good night's sleep. Okay? You enter into that rest that evening. You don't, if the Sabbath day of rest, right, you enter into the rest. So you wake up Saturday morning fully charged. How is that entering into a rest? Again, I ain't gonna do it right now, but that's a good damn question. But Joshua chapter 10, I'm sure that we're familiar with this. The longest day. Just the end of it right here. The longest day. Joshua chapter 10, start at verse 13.
Joshua chapter 10 and verse 13. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed.
Wait a minute. So the sun stood still. So that means that the sun, so no matter how much time is still passing, minute by minute, seconds, none of that stops. But the sun stopped counting those ticks. Right? Sun stayed still. Go ahead.
And the moon stayed.
That means moon stayed. So the moon didn't come up at its appointed time. Because naturally, like brother says, 12 hours in a day, So you got 12 hours of daylight, and you got 12-hour period where it's going to be dark, or the moon supposed to be out or something. But the moon didn't come out, meaning it didn't get dark.
Right.
Right? Read on.
Until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies.
Go ahead.
Is not this written in the book of Jasher?
Go ahead.
So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day.
See, stop right there, because the sun didn't go down for a whole day. Did that mean that a whole day's time frame didn't happen? No. The sun just stayed up for the length of a period as such. Read on.
Verse 14. And there was no day like that before
There was no day like that day before it.
or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel.
So I want to bring out 3 points. Just with that scripture. I want to close off with that, because I want brothers to just kind of meditate on that. You got 3 things I want to bring out. Number 1, the sun stood still and the moon stayed. So, because we understand that once the sun goes down, a new day begins. It didn't go down. This proves that a new day starts when the sun goes down. That's the reason why the sun didn't go down. That was the longest day. Everybody called that Joshua's longest day. There was no day like that day. Okay? Because had the sun and moon run their normal course, seconds, minutes, and hours, like they normally would, then the sun would have went down, and then it would have been another day. But the Most High was going to avenge them that day.
That's right.
So to make that happen, he had to make it not get dark.
That's right.
Because it would have been a new day.
That's right.
His word is not going to come back to him void.
That's right.
This is what you got to understand. Stop playing games with the word of the Most High. Okay? Number 2, the sun stayed up for a whole day. It's 24 hours. Right? We know normally there's 12 hours in a day. But it said it stayed up for the length of a day, so I'll let you know that night's included in that. But it stayed up. So we had a 24-hour period of daylight. But it's still the same day, because you would think, well, after 24 hours, it's the next day. No. When the sun set, then the next day begins. Why didn't nobody say, hey, it's been 24 hours already out, so
Day over.
day over?
Let's go home, right?
Because it wasn't built like that. It's about sunset to sunset. It's about evening to evening. So he made the sun stay up so that it was not a day like that day. Okay, the sun stayed up for a whole 24-hour period. Otherwise, it could have went down at its normal time, and it would have stayed up for just what you would call a day. Right? The third point I want to bring up is, it says there was no day excuse me, there was no day like it. That shows singular. Okay? It was no day like it. Not days, not like them. There was no day like it. Why? Because that day had 24 hours of daylight. Okay? Instead of the normal 12. And then once it did set, a new day began. All right? And that's clear cut and dry right there. Instead of having 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night to make a 24-hour period to make a day, he gave you 24 hours of daylight. Once everything was over, niggas got slaughtered, sun went down, now it's a new day. Okay? It wasn't like a 36-hour day. It wasn't some special combination of 2 days, because slick Christians and people on a different aspect of Sabbath argument will say, how do you know that you're keeping the Sabbath on the right day? Because they'll try to argue that time was lost during that point in time because of the day. That was a whole day or 2 days. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Foolishness. All right? So, all in all, Deuteronomy 30, the Sabbath commandment begins with the word remember. Okay? The Most High says to remember, remember, remember. So, it's clearly something that our people will forget. Our people go to great lengths to change and alter. And a lot of times we like to blame the enemy for our downfalls and our shortcomings, but we're to blame, and we bring a lot of this upon ourselves. Okay? When we look at the word remember, the word remember comes from the Latin word meaning to call to mind. That's the member part, and the re means again, right? So remember means to call to mind again. So when the Most High says to the children of Israel, remember the Sabbath, what he's telling you is, call to mind the Sabbath again. Okay? Mm-hmm. Here it is. You had the Sabbath, I gave it to you, call it, reflect back upon it, bring it back to mind. Okay? When we look at the history of Israel during the quote-unquote prophetic age, we experienced times of faithfulness and prosperity when we honored the Sabbath. That's when we was the most prosperous as a nation. And that's why you have brothers like Nehemiah and them like, yo, we're not going to play that, man. Remember what happened? Our forefathers did thus. Didn't the Most High beat the brakes off us? Yep. And then you go reflect back to what's written in Jeremiah. You see what I'm saying? But the most prosperity came from us when we're faithful to this Sabbath thing. That's why I push the Sabbath thing hard, man. Everybody should be modern day Nehemiahs, because that's a sign between the Most High and his people as a perpetual, never-ending covenant throughout our generations. Every time we neglected to observe the Sabbath, that's when things got bad for us. All right? But like I said, as long as we honored it, we was in good company. So let's get Deuteronomy chapter 30. What I pray is that you take all this into consideration. If you need to reach out to me to find out any information contained in any one of these books, any one of these sources. Again, for time's sake, I did cut down some. I was going to go literally century by century by century by century, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up. But for the sake of time, that would have been insane. But I pray that you did receive the message and understand that according to the word, according to history, even in the evening is when days begin, especially the Sabbath. All right, here you go.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
So, again, we've laid it all out. We showed you what the word said. We showed you what travelers, historians, scholars have all said. And the message is clear across the board. From evening to evening, you shall keep and observe your Sabbath. And from evening to evening is how we count our days Hebraically. We don't do it middle of the night like the Romans did, or the Egyptians, and we don't do it when the sun come up like the Babylonians did. If I have to go and reintroduce other sources, then I will have to show that is one of the things that the scholars point out, is that the Most High gave us the Sabbath to keep us separate from everybody else, because they was how they observe their days, when their days start, is what I'm saying. But again, man, thank you all for tuning in to United Kingdom of Israel congregation. I'm Teacher Shaul, Officer Levi. And please be sure to visit the website, UnitedKingdomofIsrael.org. And if you are in, or I'm not even saying you're in the surrounding areas, if you are looking for a location to fellowship and observe the Feast of Dedication, you can reach out to me. You can inbox me, or you can contact us at ukoichq@gmail.com. That's ukoichq@gmail.com for information on how you can come out and observe the Feast of Dedication, or at least close out the Feast of Dedication with us in Newport News, Virginia, on December the 8th. So thank you all for tuning in once again to United Kingdom of Israel congregation, the House of Learning. And with that, we say shalom.